The Valor and the Resolute drifted side by side in the shadow of a massive asteroid, hidden within the debris field surrounding the repair station. The two ships bore the scars of battle, burned hull plating, missing sections of armor, and flickering energy signatures struggling to stabilize. Inside the Valor, Rowan Vale leaned against the wall of the docking bay, arms crossed, waiting as the Resolute's airlock hissed open. Draven Locke stepped through, her uniform stained with soot, the scent of burned circuits still clinging to her. She took in Rowan's casual stance with an arched brow. "You look too relaxed for someone who just saved my ass." Rowan smirked, pushing off the wall. "You looked like you needed a dramatic last-minute rescue. Figured I'd oblige." Draven exhaled sharply, a ghost of a laugh, or maybe just exhaustion. "I owe you one. I'll add it to the list." Rowan's expression sobered as she gestured down the hall. "Come on, we've got a situation." They moved through the dimly lit corridors of the Valor, the soft hum of damaged power relays underscoring every step. Draven's gaze flicked over the repair crews working furiously, patching hull breaches and rerouting damaged systems. The war was taking its toll, even on the best of them. "What's the latest from the Council?" Draven asked as they entered the war room. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a fractured star map. Vera Kael's diplomatic efforts had shifted some alliances, but the Coalition's reach was still vast. "Vera's holding the line," Rowan said. "She's got a few factions reconsidering their stance, but it's slow going. Meanwhile, the Coalition is regrouping. We intercepted partial transmissions during the battle. Looks like they're planning something big." Draven folded her arms, her tired eyes narrowing. "Something bigger than wiping out an entire colony?" Rowan tapped the display, zooming in on a series of glowing red markers. "We think they're massing forces here, near the border worlds. They're not just hunting us down anymore, Draven. They're preparing for a full-scale campaign." Draven studied the map, the weight of it settling in her chest. "If that's the case, we don't have time to wait for the Council to debate themselves into irrelevance." Rowan grinned. "That's why we're here, isn't it? To make sure we're ready before the next fight comes knocking." Draven exhaled and nodded. "Then let's get to work." The two commanders stood side by side, staring at the ominous red markers on the holographic display, knowing that the next battle wouldn't be a skirmish. It would be the beginning of something far worse. The Galactic Council chamber had never felt so suffocating. The semicircular rows of alien delegates loomed around Vera Kael like silent judges, their expressions ranging from skeptical to outright dismissive. The destruction of Epsilon Prime had sent ripples through the Council, but not the tidal wave of unity she had hoped for. Too many still clung to neutrality, afraid to make enemies. She could hear the hushed conversations, the political maneuvering just beneath the surface. The Coalition's envoy sat motionless in their usual seat, clad in crimson armor, their visor betraying no emotion. The war had begun, and the Council still hesitated. It was time to change that. Vera took a slow, deliberate breath and stepped forward, the central platform elevating her into view. The room fell silent. She didn't need to call for attention. They all knew why she was here. "In the wake of Epsilon Prime's destruction," she began, her voice sharp, unwavering, "I have heard excuses, rationalizations, fear disguised as caution. But let me remind you all, fear will not save us." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some of the more cowardly delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Good, let them squirm. "We may be a younger race, untempered by millennia of galactic diplomacy," she continued, her amber eyes scanning the assembly. "But we are not so naive as to believe peace is achieved through silence. The Coalition does not seek peace, they seek submission." She turned slightly, pacing with slow, measured steps. "This council was founded on unity, on cooperation. But what good are these ideals if they crumble under the weight of a tyrant's boot?" The Coalition envoy remained silent, unmoving, but Vera could feel the tension building. Delegates glanced at one another, whispers spreading like wildfire. "The Coalition expects us to hesitate. They expect us to cower behind words while they burn worlds." She let the words hang in the air for a moment. "They expect us to let Epsilon Prime be nothing more than a cautionary tale." Her gaze hardened. "But I say no." Silence. A few heads turned toward her, intrigued. "I do not come here begging for sympathy," Vera declared. I do not ask for empty promises. I stand here because my people will fight, with or without your support." She let her words settle, then added, "The question is, when the flames reach your doorstep, will you be standing alone?" She could see it now, the shift in posture, the slow realization dawning on some of them. Not all, but enough. The Zorth delegate was the first to rise, their amphibious skin shimmering under the lights. "Ambassador Kael is right," they said, their voice deep and deliberate. "We must stand together." A ripple effect followed. One by one, representatives of other species began to rise, some hesitant, others resolute. The coalition envoy remained seated, still as stone, but Vera could feel the shift in momentum. She had cracked the foundation. Now, she just needed to make sure it collapsed in the right direction.